We'll give everybody just another minute before we get started. All right. Hello, and everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Transforming Business Outcomes with Document AI. My name is Morgan Mills. I'm on the marketing team here at H2O. I'd like to go over a few logistics before we get started. One, please feel free to send us your questions throughout the chat, throughout the session via the chat tab in the Zoom. We'll be happy to answer them towards the end of the webinar. We'll have a live Q&A, so please send us the questions as you have them. The second thing is the webinar is being recorded, and a copy of the recording will be sent out via email. So without further ado, I'd love to quickly start off by introducing our wonderful speaker, Karthik Guruswamy. He is a senior principal solutions engineer here at H2O.ai. He's been at H2O for the last 5 years, but has worked in the AI ML area for the last 10 years. Karthik primarily works with customers and prospects to enable them with tools from H2O to democratize AI within their organization. And he prides himself on having a production mindset around AI ML solutions with meaningful business outcomes. Thank you again for joining us today. And with that said, I will turn it over to Karthik.
Thank you, Morgan, for the intro. Welcome, everybody, to the webinar on transforming business outcomes with Document AI. I hope this webinar will be useful to you. And as Morgan was saying, at the end of the presentation, if you have any questions, please save your questions and make sure you ask them so we can, I'm happy to answer them, to make sure we address all the questions, okay? So today's talk, let's see. Okay, there we go. So the first half of the presentation will be talking about the business outcomes of using Document AI. But since there are some data scientists on the call, I just want to let you know that we're going to have some blended tech tracks with this session. So today we're going to be primarily talking about H2O Document AI. We'll get into the details pretty soon. But overall, it's a solution to extract structured information with low latency from PDFs and images. That's the tech side of it, right? And also how to use, CPU-only storing, right? So, and also scaling and all that. But there is going to be a follow-on webinar in the future where we're going to be talking about all the GPT stuff, LLM, and that is not part of the presentation today. Today is about H2O Document AI, but in the future, we're going to be talking about all the LLM, GPT, how to create your own enterprise GPT, and so on. So with that, so let's get started. So what is H2O Document AI and how it's going to help your business? The first thing to know what it does, and then we'll get into the value in a few minutes. So documents, PDFs, images from faxes, attachments from emails. And if you're a bank or an insurance company or any company who's verifying your customer information, like KYC, for instance, payslips, bank statements, all of that are candidates for processing in Document AI. Most of the time, the demand in general we see is that you want to process those documents at the velocity of the business, right? Documents keep coming in, they're probably sitting on a wall, customers are sending all of that, and you're going to have this backlogs being created. So it's extremely important for you to process them, get it into a digital form, into your CRM systems or other systems, so business can get to that information really quickly. Or I should say business process can get the information really quickly. So basically, Histo Document AI is designed to continuously learn, identify, and extract information from massive amounts of unstructured data, right? And the most important thing is that Document AI is built with AI and ML at the core of the product, right? So traditional solutions, if you're already aware of, they work off rules to start with, and then AI/ML is more of an add-on at the end. Document AI works the other way. AI/ML at the core of the product, and then if there is something rough on the edges, then you can always add some rules to sort of bring all of that in. So it works exactly the opposite of traditional solutions. And we can talk. Let's chat about some of the things that Document AI is really good at in a second. But the most important points here is that business and enterprise have a lot of unstructured data, right? Documents, image scans. The problem with that is backlog and also seasonal backlogs, right? A lot of companies have call centers in other countries to handle the volume, but the problem there is that training of the folks there and also seasonal loads keep changing. For instance, a good example would be a rainy season and insurance claim documents, or a tax season, right? The document volumes are very dynamic in nature, right? And also staffing will be a problem. And even then, you have accuracy issues, and then how do you validate them? So there is a lot of things that go on, and companies invest heavily on call centers because the impact of not extracting information on time will lead to the things that you probably already know about, right? Your customers are not hearing from you after sending their KYC. You don't want them to wait them for like 4 weeks before they open a bank account, right? You want to respond back real quickly, verify the information. Or existing customers, you ask them to say something, send them something, you don't get to it, they're going to churn. And obviously, it's going to have increase the support costs and loss of revenue. So the key thing here is that as the documents come in, you want to be able to transform the data, extract the data into your system real quick. And that's exactly the problem that Document AI solves, right? It's going to help you. There's several dimensions. Now, Document AI is part of the intelligent document processing system sort of space. As you know, there are two types of documents. There are types of document, they all look the same, like driver's license, for instance. Let's say it's a California company that's asking their customers to send their California driver's license. They almost pretty much looks the same, right? Except maybe like one or two variations. If you can just do an OCR, or optical character recognition, of extracting the text, and you know the exact XY coordinates, then you don't need an AI/ML solution, right? All you need is an OCR. However, that doesn't happen in real life, right? Documents, you're actually collecting, for instance, pay slips which is an example that we will show in the webinar. Every pay slip is different, right? Every one of your customer has a different employer, and they have a different format, right? They could be contact the Workday, they could be contact the ADP. Both are Histo customers, by the way, or any other payroll solutions. You're going to get pay slips all across the board. And how do you keep up with all these formats if it's an OCR-only solution? So you need something very intelligent. The way it's done in the past is that there are companies who allow you to create different templates for these documents. But the problem with that is when these formats change over time, you can't keep up with the templates. It's kind of like a rules-based system where you invent a new rule for every new variation, and it's not going to scale, it's going to get expensive. So where Document AI really is going to help you is when you get documents in very inconsistent and irregular formats, different layouts. These two are the primary ones. So this is just a way of getting the information in. But these two are the most important reasons why customers are looking at Document AI and also deploying Document AI in production. The documents, one document does not look like the other. There is no way you can create a template that covers everything. And so we are going to resort to artificial intelligence and machine learning to extract information. Okay. So the business value, I already said this. Basically, it enables solutions and ecosystem. It's all about continuous learning, right? But also minimal training. We don't want our customers to train on millions of documents or hundreds and thousands of documents to get to their models or what have you. So really, it's about showing the AI/ML, spend minimum time to show, hey, I'm interested in a first name, last name, or a company name. And for an example, here it is, and things like that. And then we expect you should expect the product to work for you on the document that's not seen before. So basically, Document AI will help you go beyond the OCR, traditional OCR template methods, right? And then also, if companies have technologies like RPA, robotic process automation, based memorization, which doesn't scale very well, especially for niche use cases, like even like for instance, like the payslips or bank statements, for instance, right? Every customer banks in a different bank or choose a different format. How do you keep up with that, right? So that's the most important thing, and the accuracy is an absolutely important, criterion. We really want to be able to extract the information and also say how sure we are about extracting the information. So basically, now your employees can do more higher value work activities, right? For example, you are processing a document, and the artificial machine learning says that this particular document is not readable for me. Hey, is there a way we can bucket that and put it for human review? And then employees and call centers can look at it and say, okay, AI failed, we are not so sure. Maybe I should just eyeball this and then answer it. So and then they can actually more focus on, do a lot more focused work, which is extremely important. And of course, cost savings is absolutely one of the biggest factors why HSO Document AI is preferred by businesses. Yeah, so we talked about that, as opposed to maintaining rules and constantly keeping up with rules for documents that don't fall into a certain bucket. You're going to be able to do things with a lot more automation, right? And then also quick turnaround to keep up with the documents. So Document AI is used for various different use cases. For folks who join later, this is a tech track. We're going to focus on H2O Document AI. We're not going to be talking about large language models or GPT stuff. That's for a follow-on webinar and how to solve somewhat overlapping issues with that. But Document AI is designed for low latency information extraction. What do I mean by low latency is that imagine something less than a second, half a second of extraction, right? So you bring in a payslip and then you get the information in less than half a second. And that's what we're talking about. And also no GPU in the backend for scoring, elastic scaling across Kubernetes and things like that. So it absolutely scales to millions and millions of extracting information from millions and millions of documents. So make sure you attend the next extract. We'll talk a little bit more about GPT stuff, but today we'll focus on this. So for finance, you can see like bank documents, bank confirmation. We do have customers who are looking at municipal bonds, right? You can even extract, phrases or sentences of interest from the documents. It's absolutely possible without even using LLMs, right? And it's all low latency there. And then policies, claims, and contracts. For the insurance side, even claims handling is a very popular use case, right? You're looking at the type of claim and then all the information that the customer sends. How do you extract it? So this is a common problem. Like I said, during wintertime or seasonal loads, you really want to be able to, get through your backlogs. And the insurance claim is one of the most popular ones. And then transportation, airway bills, regulatory forms, so all this should be pretty familiar to you when you look at this. And if you have a particular use case that we are not covered here, feel free to ask it in the chat later on, and we can go through that. Okay. So just getting to the technical side of it, and also how it is going to transform a business outcome is that generally you start with a bunch of images of PDF. You don't need thousands of them. Maybe like 50 to 100 bank statements or payslips, as we'll show in the demo today. And then the Document AI does all the image processing. There is a very low code, a very small amount of code that you have to write if you have to customize something. But other than that, everything works fine. It is very data scientist friendly and also an analyst friendly interface. So we do all the image processing, rotation and things like that, and you don't have to worry about that. And absolutely, I do see a question in the chat, which is very relevant to the slide, is that yes, we do support scanned documents. So the interesting thing about Document AI is that we use ICR, which is a combination of your traditional OCR and also NLP. right? So it's not just pulling information from XY coordinates, but also sort of anchoring them to things that are surrounding the text. We also use pre-trained layout models. So the evidence being trained on millions of documents. That's the whole promise of AI/ML, right? So we bring in pre-trained models, and then we let you annotate some of the documents to show document A what you're interested in. Maybe a company name, an employee name, maybe some fields, some dates. And then you put some bounding boxes around them, as you'll see in the demo. And then it uses a combination of the pre-trained models and your annotation. And you can actually build a model, play with it, look at the accuracy. You can do all of that, and then push a button, and then it goes and creates a scalable REST endpoint, right? And if you want to insert your own Python code in the pipeline, you can absolutely do that as a data scientist. So there's a lot of data scientists play as well. Very easily deployable, can run on cloud, on-prem, all of that. And yeah, and then we can go to production. And if you have it installed in production and you have about 50 to 100 documents, literally in 2 weeks, that's the worst case. You can be hosting a REST endpoint ready to store your documents as they're coming in. Yeah, so let's just go through. I don't want to spend too much time on explaining the concept. We'll jump to a demo. But the key thing here you'll see is that we work with documents where the format is not constant, changing constantly. There is no expectation of the format or layout. So that is the interesting part of it, right? So which means you're not spending time creating templates. You leave that to the artificial intelligence and machine learning ideas, okay? And then we'll go to a demo, and then we'll come back to this slide, okay? All right. Let's go. Let me see if there's any other questions right now. Okay. So here is a Histo AI Cloud. For folks who are already on the call, some of you are Histo customers, I believe, and you may already have this. And Document AI is available in the latest Histo AI Cloud, which is a data science machine learning platform, as an app. So you can go click on it, and then you can go to the Document AI training kit. Okay. Before that, and if you want to have Document AI standalone, we can talk about that too. We can install this without the Histo AI Cloud, and you can have a standalone document AI product. It can also work as standalone as well without this interface you see here. Okay. So before I show you how the sausage is made or the potatoes are made, I should say fried. Fries are made. Let's talk about how would someone consume this output first. I'm more interested in showing you. I'm very interested in showing you the business outcome, and then for the data scientist, in the next 30 minutes, we can show you how it's built. Okay. So ideally, so this is a product called Document AI Viewer, where you can upload your documents and then look at how to extract the information. Okay. So for instance, on the left side, let me get you a little bit technical, okay? On the left side, you can see all kinds of pipelines created by data scientists, right, within H2O. So I created this pipeline, which I'm going to show you in a second, maybe in a minute. And this pipeline has information on what type of OCR, what type of model, it's trained on some documents it's streamed. But at the very end, we want to upload a document and get the information, right? So let's go ahead and upload a payslip. Let's see if we can get to the directory real quick. Yeah, so this is a PDF file with the latest salary of somebody, and you got it, and you want to extract information, right? So what it's doing right now is that it's actually sending this PDF file to the pipeline, and then we're going to get the information real quick. Okay, let's see. Okay. It's a little bit of the demo, so it's a little bit of latency here because of the pipeline. Okay, there we go. So you can see that these are all pseudo pay slips. So just want to make sure there's nothing PII here. So here's a pay slip. Even if you actually manually look at it, and I ask the call center folks to look at the first name, last name of the person in the pay slip, and also the employer name and gross pay and net pay, is going to take some time for the person to look at it. Whereas I upload the document in less than a second in production, right? It took a few more seconds here. You can see it's actually pulling up information, okay? So it actually pulled the company name from the logo. They didn't get it right. It put a D in the front of it, right? So if you just look at it, you see that it's not very confident of the OCR. It says like 40%, OCR. So when you have like 100 fields here that you're trying to pull, or 40 fields, for instance, this is the type of information you can actually get, not just on the UI, but also on that scoring and how confident it is to pull this information. Now, this is not good, so it requires human review, right? Can be routed because the image didn't come across, it didn't pull the correct information from the image. It also pulls the life insurance as part of the, so it's ICICI Prudential Life Insurance. So you get all of that as part of the company name. If I ask you to pull the employee name yourself, if I give you this, it's going to take some time, right? It's in the form of name. So it knew that employee name is here. And then the gross pay is available as total earnings and net pay here. So when the model was trained on, not all of the pay slips that it was trained on had net pay and total earnings. So this is all coming part of the NLP, some similarity and layout models and NLP and BERT models and things like that. So basically, you don't have to, nothing gets memorized in document AI. Everything is generalized, right? So when things are generalized, you get confidence intervals, right? So you also get numbers on how sure it is, right? So that's the difference between memorization and generalization, is that it's a probabilistic approach, but you also get a number based on how sure it is. So for all practical purposes, now you can set up thresholds and say anything below 95%, set it for human review, right? When you're doing this, when you're not looking at this, then that's scoring. So this is how it works. So this is the typical output of document AI, because I train the model on 4 fields: company name, employee name, gross pay, and net pay. And here it is pulling that information. Okay. You can also do, for instance, let's say you have about, every day you get about 100,000 documents or 50,000 documents. Then how do you score something like this? So you're not going to be looking at all the 50,000 documents. But what you can do is, we do have a command line bulk scoring tool. So when you deploy the model, you can say, hey, I need a parallelism of 100, right? I'll show you that to you in a second. And then you hand off, there's just one single REST endpoint, like a web address. And then you're going to hand it off to your DevOps and say, I have 100 parallelisms set up, and now you can bring your documents. And we give you all the command line tools to start scoring your documents, right? For instance, I have this image directory. I mean, we're not going to do 100,000 today. So I want to score all these documents. I don't want to be looking each one of these with the arrows and stuff. I just want to get the information out. It's the same webinar pipeline that you saw. I'm going to use the same pipeline, and I'm going to start scoring, okay? So we do have a Docker or a Python command line tool. I'm using a parallelism of 4 for the demo. So you can see like it uploaded 4 documents to the REST endpoint, and the results will start coming out in a few seconds, okay? So as soon as one is done, it's going to upload another one. Imagine having 100 of these. So basically, you can clear huge backlogs because it's using a technology called Kubernetes in the backend. As and when the documents are submitted and the load goes up, it spins up more pods in the backend. So we'll be able to meet the demand to score these documents. That's how it works. Okay. So I do have a question on the chat that's saying, can I extract handwritten text? Yes, the answer is yes, we can. In fact, I was going to show you that in a few minutes. What we do to address handwritten text. Bear with me for a minute, okay? So while this is going on, we'll come back to this on the results, how it looks. Meantime, let me switch you to our training interface, how it looks. So it is called Publisher. Basically, it also, it looks very similar to the viewer, but with a couple of more knobs, okay? So one of the things I did was before here, I actually brought in about 81 payslips. Some of the payslips have more than one page. So you can see like it's got 156 pages. So let's just take a real closer look on how that looks. Okay, so you can see this is a payslip. This is the training data set that I have, okay? A company name is actually a logo, it's an image, right? The whole thing is a PDF. And so there's text in the PDF, there's image in the PDF, it's all fair game. This looks completely different, right? And then this is another one. You can see like gross earnings, and then there is net pay. So you'll see like these words change from paycheck to paycheck. So this is kind of like your worst data set where you can never create a single template for all the data set. Okay. Maybe like there is a few that look identical, but most of them that we picked were completely different. Okay. And then let's look at a few more. Yeah, here it says gross earning, net pay, maybe those words. Here you can see current month net salary, right? And then total earnings, like worded very differently, right? It's all fair game. So this is the type of information we expect you to use for Document AI. So this goes beyond OCR, right? If I'm giving you an OCR on this, which is optical character recognition, you can even process this exhaust that's coming out of it, right? Sometimes it's employee ID, sometimes it's name, and sometimes employee name. So so you got to write your own sort of like heuristics to extract it, and doesn't go very well in general. So how do you approach something like this? So I actually uploaded this, and the first thing I did was to go here on the annotation set. Go here, and then what you can do is the first thing you would do is to do an OCR. Okay, so we can avoid OCR, but here's the fun part. Okay, so you see how many different OCR options we have. We have when I drop down, you see Tesseract, which has been around for 20 plus years, probably even more. Since I knew, it was like a long time ago, I've used Tesseract. There is also a PDF text extraction available. PDF text extraction only works for text inside PDF, not with logos. And then we have an option called BEST that we provide. Think of this like a poor man's automatic OCR, okay? So BEST, what it does is it does a PDF text extraction. If it sees an image, then it falls back to DocPR. Okay, so DocPR is an OCR that's available in the internet. It's open source, and you can see that it uses PyTorch and TensorFlow and things like that. Okay, so you can actually, I wouldn't call it open source, but it's more like an open, right? You can go take it. But the problem is it doesn't really work out of the box with handwritten documents. So one of the things that our Kaggle Grandmasters in H2O did was to actually create fine-tuned DocPR models, right? That can really work on extracting handwritten data better than the stock anything you can get out there. Okay, so we have benchmarks to prove it on public handwritten data sets that we do way better than the ones that are available. They're 100% accurate, probably not, right? But relatively speaking, we'll give you the confidence on how we extracted it, how sure we are, and you get all of those good stuff, right? We also have a E3 best, which is trying PDF extraction if not falling back to the DocPR efficient and P3. So you do have some trade-offs here in terms of latency. So if you use PDF extraction only, it's going to get a lot faster, but it's going to be less accurate for if some PDF has some images. And so we can, if you're really interested, we can go through a call on all of this on how to choose one. So then you can pick the one, and then of course you can go change all of it every time and see what works best for you. And then let's say I do E3 best, and then I call it, OCR E3, and then click on OCR, and I'm going to get the optical character recognition here. Okay. So after it's done OCR, you can go take a look at how it did. You can go here. Yeah. So basically, you can see that even though it's E3, it actually missed the logo. And I know for sure that if you do the bigger model, it is going to capture the DEA or idea from the logo, which I don't have it for you right now, but I just have to take my word for it. Okay. And you can see it's doing a pretty good job of the OCR for the rest of the documents. You can play with it. Like I said, if the logo is important, you turn on the one the more advanced one. I choose the one with a little low latency, so it missed this image, right? But we can totally do that. Maybe I can just click that off while we're talking, and then you can come and take a look. So yeah, so OCR is doing a pretty good job. So what else do we need? So one of the things we need to do as part of the training data set, while the OCR is running, you can actually go create a schema. Let's see. Okay, so one of the things that you have to do is to bring in a subset of documents. So I have about 156 pages. Because these documents are so different, I had to bring in 100 plus docs, but not thousands, okay? But if the payslips look somewhat similar, maybe from the same employer or a couple of employees, you probably need like 20 of these documents to annotate, okay? So here you can see like I created the schema, company name, employee name, gross pay and net pay. And if you want pay date, if you want some of the, to pull out the tables and things like that, you can actually create your own labels and then start drawing the bounding boxes, right? So for instance, like I want the address, I go here, and then you can see like there are only 4 that I chose. Now I can create an address one if you're interested to pull an address, and then it'll show up here, and then you point towards that, okay? So literally, you're annotating this as part of your annotation set. So I have gone through and done all of this. Someone in my company did. I didn't do this. So basically, you're showing what the employee name is, where the company name is, roughly speaking, right? So even though they are in different XY coordinates, the key thing is context, right? So when you do this, it's looking at the surrounding information to eventually determine, and also the layout pre-trained model to eventually determine what where a particular label is present, right? That is AIML. But right now you're preparing the data set. So we've done the annotation. The next thing to do is to combine the OCR plus annotation, and you can use that using the apply labels option. So you can pick the OCR that we did, and then you can pick the annotation that you manually did on the documents, and then you can call it OCR annotation, and you can say apply labels, and it is going to create a combined data set, okay? So the combined data set looks something like this. So let's zoom in a little bit here. So you can see like employee name is Molina. So it connected the label that you annotated, the bounding box, to the actual text pulled from the OCR. So this is the connection it makes, the apply labels, right? So this becomes a training data set. The name of the label, and also the text, and of course the XY coordinates in some way, which is not shown here, but that's how you prepare the step. So if you have 100 documents, you can actually, your annotation is the longest pole in the tent. So basically it's going to take you maybe like a couple of days to get through like 100 documents. 20 documents, you can just get it done in an hour, less than an hour. And then OCR, you're not doing anything, you're picking the OCR. You can start with any OCR to start with, and then you're combining that. Apply labels takes like 20 seconds to do it, and here you are, okay? Then the next thing you do is to go and split the document. You can do 80-20, 70-30. So you're going to create a evaluation data set and a training data set. And then I already did that, split 1, split 2, 81 documents, 64 goes to training, 23 to testing, and now you're ready to build a model, okay? So how do you build a model? You say train model. As you can see, we support both page classification and token labeling, but we're only doing token labeling for the demo. So picking the first split, and then second split for evaluation. And then you can create a model name, create like model test. And then you also have an option to change so this is a data scientist part, right? Building a model, but it's not like hundreds of parameters. So you basically play with your batch size and epochs. And where this really helps you is that if the model is not that accurate, then you have some more knobs to increasing the epochs, right? To go through multiple passes of the same data, batch size to change the training speed. So you can actually play with this along with the OCR to get to the point that you want, okay? So there are many ways to increase the accuracy of the model. But the most important thing is that you want to create an evaluation prediction set to look at how, so basically we're training on the training data set and then predicting on the evaluation set to see how close the actual versus predicted is. So that's why we choose this, right? To look at the actual versus predicted. And you hit train, and then maybe like if it's going to, if you have a GPU, it's going to use the GPU, maybe like 20 minutes. For me, it took, I can actually see how long it took. The model took something like, yeah, like 20 minutes to train model. It took 12 minutes actually to build a model. And it used GPU. If you don't have a GPU, it's going to take you like 30 minutes. So once you have the model, you can also look at the evaluation set. This is the one that I did, evaluation set. You can see how it's doing versus actual versus prediction and which labels are bad. You can also look at a confusion matrix, precision recall, all the metrics, data science metrics. I have a wrong browser, so this is switching the font. Apologize for that. But you can look at like company name, my scores, my precision, my recall. These are all data scientist fields, right? So the key thing here is that you're not writing a whole lot of code. The only thing you're doing is annotation and then picking up your OCR choices, right? And then you're able to build a model. And if you're not happy with this F1 score, 79, everybody wants to get 95%. And you can play with the OCR. You can play with the two hyperparameters that I talked about. We can also give you some tips on how to annotate in an interesting way to increase the score. But worst case scenario, if you're flattening out on the quality of the model, you can, that is the point where you say, oh, I need more documents to train. It rarely happens, but there is less marginal utility in adding more documents and a lot of times, but it may come in handy. Okay, so we can work with what you have. Absolutely no problem. So once you build a model, then it's time to publish the pipeline. Okay. Yeah, so I see a question on the chat, which I can talk about now. Can I get back the data using APIs? Absolutely. So we have APIs for everything that you see on the our training side and also the scoring side. So you'll be able to get the extracted information using that. How do you set up the cluster for training? Yeah, it's a Kubernetes installation, and you can talk to our professional services support team. And if you do have an engagement with us, then we can absolutely help you to set it up. I work with your IT to figure out how to install it behind your firewall. Okay. All right. So let's go to pipeline. So what is this pipeline? The pipeline is a place where we're going to expose the model and make it scalable, right? So the model is a bunch of, some weights, some pre-processing steps that it learned during the process, and all of that is sitting there. But we really wanted to make it operational. How do you do that? So you go publish a pipeline, and then here you have an option to choose the same OCR that you built for the model, or you can override it, right? So you don't have to get stuck with the OCR you trained in the model. If you suddenly see your documents are coming in with more images and you don't have time to build a model, you can go create a pipeline with the latest OCR. Absolutely no problem. And pick your model and then create a pipeline. So I can say pipeline XYZ. And then, so here's a part where you set up the minimum and maximum replicas. So this is the scaling interface, right? Like I told you, if you're getting like 100 documents a second, then you would configure the max replicas as 100. And when replicas is kind of like the warm-up instances you want. So let's say on a particular season, let's say just like a weekly, right? This week you're expecting anywhere between 10,000 documents to 100,000 documents. And you want it on some latency, you want it like instant, then you can set up the pods in a way to address it. But if you are okay with the latency to go down, you can reduce this number. So things get queued up, but eventually get scored. So there's a lot of play here that you can do. You can also set up the resources for Kubernetes. So this is the part that works really well. Because we work on the cloud, we use cloud native Kubernetes. If you're on AWS, we'll use the Kubernetes offered by AWS. If you're on Azure, we will use the native Kubernetes. We're not reinventing the wheel. We always work with the latest Kubernetes available on the cloud. But the look and feel of the product remains the same across all the different clouds. Okay. So what does the output look like? We saw the viewing output, right? I create a publish pipeline, and then here is your pipeline. So what does the output look like for the pipeline, right? So let's just try to submit one document here. So let's pick one here. Maybe this one. Let's do this one. That's kind of a little logo here, right? Yeah. And then, so now we are testing the pipeline, right? It's even though there are hundreds of Kubernetes pods, I mean, 4 in this case, we are actually testing it, uploading a document on the UI and seeing what the output looks like, okay? So again, the output is going to be a JSON output. You see, it pulled the company name because when I published my pipeline, this is a logo, it's an image, right? And then it called it company name. And then Airtel, it picked the tel, it missed the air, but look at the confidence, label confidence here, okay? So it's very sure that this is label confidence. The fact it found the company, it's 0.998. The OCR is somewhat 0.965. You can see like a franchise off gets cut off, and then tel is another company name it picked up. Label confidence very low, 716. OCR is also low. Employee name 999. It's so sure, right? So now you're getting these thresholds along with the predictions. We're not telling you this is the gross pay, this is the net pay. We're actually telling you exactly what it is. So this is a pipeline, a default pipeline that I used. And one of the things you can do is you can create your own, you can add your own Python code to the pipeline to massage the JSON output to whatever you want. For example, if there's we can give you a lot of, we have a recipe folder where we have tens of these recipes for various applications like masking out PII, and you can even bring your own, do some machine learning here if you want, eliminate duplicate stuff. You can massage the output. As part of the output, you're going to get things like you saw the OCR confidence and you saw the classification confidence. You're going to get the page number, you're going to get the line number, you can annotate tables, so you're going to get the line number, the column name. So you can adjust the JSON output in a way that your consuming process can accept that. So there's a lot of so there is you don't have to use the custom post processor, but this is a place where you can inject your own code to the final pipeline. Okay. So, but a generic pipeline. So we have a couple of built-in pipelines, and then massaging code, and you can write your. And we have several examples that customers want. Some customers say, even though you don't have a label, you didn't catch a label, can you just produce it in the JSON and say that I didn't find it? And you can do that with that Python code. Okay. Yeah. So another question is this service available on Histro AI? So yeah. So the document AI is available in the managed cloud. In Histro AI, hosted by us. We are SOC 2 compliant, and we can support your documents. But if you feel like hosting it behind your firewall, we can install it behind your firewall too. Okay, so that's totally possible. So I'm actually coming to the end of the demo. You saw the end-to-end, the batch scoring. Oh, the batch scoring, we didn't see the results. So this works exactly the same way what I showed you in the UI. The UI, you get to see like one document at a time. But if you look at, I scored all of this like while we are talking, a whole directory of documents on the same pipeline. So this you get all the JSON output here, right? And then you can query all the JSON, and it's going to tell you like this is the same output we saw in the UI. So here's an example where it pulled out ABC groceries, right? It pulled out something. Not too sure about the OCR. It's 0.999. It missed something. Employee name, same thing. Jonas Jones. I can show you this. It's not even human readable if I actually showed you this. It's like really bad quality document. But it can pull up stuff, but it can tell you how sure it is. This is what our customers like. You can look at this number, process JSON. You don't feel confident. Look at this employee name. It totally missed it. Right? Another employee name was there, 0.182. Right? It's got a dollar amount in front of it. Not so sure. Too high. It's got to be $20,000. I can show you the payslip. You can't even tell whether it's 20,000 or 2,000. But the OCR confidence is something you can rely on, and then basically send it for human review. Okay. Otherwise, we can just. The other thing customer do is that when this is coming from your customers, you know the customer name. You can talk to your CRM. You can write your app to write the CRM. We can help you with that too on how to connect to your CRM. But we actually do the last mile much better than anyone else. If you can give me this data set, 100 documents, it will take me like 2 days to get here to put it in production, right? So this is for every document that you saw. You'll also see the page number. If a payslip has multiple page numbers, you're going to see the page index. We can also create a line index. Let's say you have multiple of these labels, like dates, you can also put like line numbers, and then you can write a post processor to ignore something or add something or combine something. So there's a lot of things you can do, but those are exceptions to the rule, right? But you're not like you're not forced to work with the output that is produced with the AML. You can absolutely massage it, but very little is needed. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions? So I see a question saying, can we sign up and test our documents? How is the service built? Yeah, so if you're interested in it's available on Managed Cloud, I think you should talk to the account exec on the engaging on how it's priced, which is not part of the today's webinar. We can definitely take that conversation offline. Okay, so we are at 45 minutes past the hour. I've already answered a lot of questions. Anything else? Morgan, any other questions that you're getting? Or
Yeah, so there is a question from earlier. Could you share a financial industry use case and specifically credit unions, if you have any?
Yes, the financial industry are one of our largest customers in Commonwealth Bank of Australia. They actually, we can, on the follow-on email, you'll see some YouTube videos around their endorsement on this. One of the most challenging problems they had was they had all these PDF documents, and they wanted to make sure that those documents are not toxic assets. Also, they are working on a payslip KYC use case right now that is going into production soon. So we have public endorsements on that, and there were some incumbent IDP vendors that this customer had was very good with documents that all look same way, similar way, like driver's licenses and things like that. But when it really came down to a multi-modal, a mix of KYC documents, it became like a never-ending project to create those templates, right? So what we call the template range. You get into like creating all, you can't keep up. So basically you're putting the whole company doing these templates or hiring people to do this. So those are the kind of use cases that you can quickly address that your current vendors are not able to address. But of course, we can do all the regular ones, the OCR. So we have some of the best OCR in the industry, right? So you can absolutely use the OCR specific applications as well. So now they're expanding to all kinds of use cases, and KYC being the most interesting one. Bank statement, pay slips, mortgage statements, utility bills, they're working on all of that. And that is the financial industry one. I hope I answered that question correctly for you. Let's see. Yeah, so I think some of the questions on Slack I already addressed while going through the presentation. Is there anything else? Feel free to ask this now. So I do see one more here. Any specific model for check images and handwritten? Yeah. So for check, so let me tell you this, right? So we allow you to build your own models here, right? And if you really think about, and if you want a pre-trained model on checks, we can give you a model trained on public data set. Exactly, you can build the same model yourself, right? So if you look at checks, the key fields in checks, almost check looks identical, right? Most of the checks are not that much variation, except for the the background and whatnot. So we have enough image processing in the product to take care of that. And so you can just use like 10, 15 checks or maybe like 20 to 30 checks max annotated and build a model. We can also give you a payslip starter model to start with like 4 fields like I'm showing you now. If you want, you can always add more annotations, the fields of interest that concerns you, right? That you care about. When it comes to checks, if it's a handwritten text on the check, we will absolutely do better than anything else out there. right? Because we have, like I said, we are doing really well on public data sets and handwriting. I can actually share you a white paper on that, on how we are doing better than all the stock OCRs that are available. So you can totally take advantage of the combination of really good OCR and the AML. You should get much better accuracy than any incumbent player out there, okay? Because these models and OCRs are curated by the Kaggle grandmasters who work with H2O, who work on NLP, who work on document AI. Like, they are the world's best. So they put all their best practices in not only in image pre-processing, but all the way to the pipeline, right? So you're going to get all the benefits of that. Absolutely. And then, yeah, so as far as the data security goes, that's a great question. So document AI does not persist any database in its layer, right? We don't store anything on the disk. Everything is in memory. So when document AI shuts down, nothing is left in the disk, right? So the way we work with some of our largest customers is that they have encrypted S3. They store all the documents in encrypted S3, even for training. So we can configure the document AI in order to talk to the S3, bring the data in for training, and then make sure there's nothing downloadable, right? And then do the training and publish it. Obviously, they run on the cloud, and we do see that there is a general, and then for scoring, you can get information from that is totally on the client side on how you want to handle it. And then we have HTTPS transport going to the document AI. So it's pretty secure. It meets at least a few of the customers we worked with. We went through the architectural review, and they're very happy with the way it works. And if you have specific requirements on data persistence and security and retention and things like that, we can work with their IT, and we have all those things built into the product. So we can totally take care of that.
I think we've got one more question.
Yes. Is that the cloud security one? I think I addressed that just now, the data security.
Yeah.
Yeah. So same thing, right? Like, I think I just answered this, but I don't want to add that we can meet you at the place where you are with security. Also, all the entire product, we have scans on, vulnerability scans on all the product, get you a report on that. So your IT is working with, has some standards on what gets in, what Python libraries. We can totally work with that, including all the libraries that we use. So yeah, we will go through all the certification with your IT infrastructure team, including Kubernetes, everything, just name it. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Are there any more questions? Okay. If not, we will just go ahead and wrap a few minutes early. Wanted to give a big thanks to Karthik for leading our session and giving a great presentation. And thank you all for joining us today. The presentation slides and the recordings will be made available via email. Thank you again. Have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to connecting with you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.